making the most of HomeBank. How do we get the information out of HomeBank and into a format where we can step back and see the big picture, figure out where we might be able to do better, and then decide what to do about that. So this is part 2 of the big bills videos. So in this video, we are going to show you how to export the information out of HomeBank so that we can get that report for our big bills into Excel every month without having to manipulate everything in Excel over and over again. So hi, I'm Kim. I'm from Inside My Money, and in Inside My Money on this channel, we give you practical, real ways that you can put in place systems to help you understand your money and work better with it, specifically using HomeBank. So let's crack into it. So what I'm going to show you today is how to export information out of HomeBank. Now I have other videos on this as well, so you can check those ones out. I also have other videos on PowerQuery, but I thought I would use today to show you specifically how to use Excel PowerQuery for big bills, because I promised that I would do that in the last video, so we're going to do that now. So what we do is we go straight up into reports and into statistics. So the first step is to export the information out of HomeBank into Excel. Now it will come in as a CSV, which is fine. We can manipulate that and then we can start doing PowerQuery. You can put CSV information into PowerQuery, but I like to turn it into an Excel spreadsheet, into an Excel format first. So here we are in our statistics report, and I'm not going to get picky about filtering here. So I wouldn't filter here, I would filter in PowerQuery. But what I am going to do is create a default report. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a default report as well that can be used over multiple different types of analysis. So this one will be for big bills, but then I'll do another video that shows you how to do it just for your income, one just for your essential expenses, and one for your discretionary type expenses. So you can use the same source of data to get you all 4 of those different reports. So first of all, we'll create the default report. So we're going to make it a time report. We don't want forecast, and we want 12 months, the last 12 months, because then every time you do this, it will just push it along another month. And when you bring it into Excel and refresh your query, then it will just move that a month along. So it will drop a month off the end and push another one in. And you'll see how that works. Now so I've done all that. Like I said, I'm not going to filter at this point. I'm now just going to go save as. And for these guys, I'm going to call it bills, income, spending. And that will be my source. So now you can see in your little drop-down box, I've already created a couple of other sources, but this one I will always choose that every month, and it will bring the exact same information back into your report. So you don't have to keep fiddling around. You might have to keep choosing the last 12 months. That's the only sort of statement that I need to warn you about. But from the rest of it, it will bring in all the rest of it. So now we're going to export it using the top up here. Use the little icon with the pink. We're going to export it to CSV. And I'm going to put it in the desktop. And I've created a folder called source data. So I want it to go in that folder. And I'm going to call this bills, spending, income, bills, income, spending, so we keep consistent, and go save. And then we'll go and find it again, and it was under desktop, HomeBank, and source data. We'll open it up, and it looks like gobbledygook, but that's okay, because now we're going to turn it into an Excel file. So we just highlight the column A, go up to data, text to columns, you want delimited. Next, you want it to be split by the semicolon, not the tab, and you can see that puts it into its correct columns. Next, general, and finish. And so now it makes it all clean and tidy. and we will export that, change the file type and make it a workbook. And we'll save it as the same thing under desktop, because it always seems to put it into my OneDrive, and I want it in desktop, HomeBank, source data, and it will be, I don't want it CSV on the end of it, and it will be a Excel file. So that is what we're going to bring into our PowerQuery. So you can't have the source data open at the same time as creating the query, so we'll close that. And now I've just got some, just a completely blank spreadsheet with my money dashboard. So this is going to be the beginning of the dashboard that we will create over time. I'll show you how to do this over a series of videos. The first thing we need to do though is bring in the data that we've just exported out of HomeBank. So we're going to go data, and this is us now creating the query, and this is where we manipulate that information. We're going to go data, get data from file, from Excel workbook. And it will go and say, where is it? And it remembers, but it's gone and put it in there. I'm getting it out of my desktop here. So go back to where you put it, and it's an Excel file, so it's okay, and we're going to import it. Now, PowerQuery is just a more powerful version of a pivot table, and it allows you to do lots of filtering and manipulating and sorting and do it once, and then every month when you export your information out of HomeBank and save it over the top of this file and then push refresh, it does all of that filtering and everything for you. You don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So we want it to be like that. Transform the data. And here is all our raw data. Now we just want the big bills. You can see that I've created quite a few different queries. That's okay. I will actually just delete all of those. So now we've got this core source data, and what I want to do is take this, I want to do just the big bills, and then I want to do another one for income and another one for spending, discretionary and essential. So let's just do big bills first. So let's keep the source data as it is, and let's say duplicate, so that we're not messing with the source data. If anything goes horribly wrong, we've still got that. This is going to now be the big bills set of data, and we'll start manipulating this. So PowerQuery works by telling you all the different steps that you're taking on the right hand side. So if you don't do one, if you make a mistake, you just hit the little cross and it wipes it out. You can do it again. So, and it always seems to change type. So if you ever have any errors, remove all the changed types, because it tends to error at some of those changed types. But the first thing we want to do is we don't want column 1, column 2. We want these ones to be our headers. So we just say use first row as headers, and see it does the change type again. It loves doing that. And that's because what it's doing is it's trying to figure out what type of data is in each of these columns. So it's making assumptions. So it's saying this is a text column, and then with this one, it might say this is a numbers column. You can change these to be different actual types, like instead of a decimal number, you can make it currency. And so you go change that, and it would change it to currency. So at the moment, I'm not too worried about that. I just want to filter out some of these categories because I just want the big bills. So now what you do is you go down and say, well, we don't want to select all, but we want car expenses. But just be careful when you're choosing your different categories, because if you choose car expenses and car expenses maintenance, and then you sum everything up, you're going to be doubling up on those expenses. So don't choose the header categories, choose the subcategories. So car expenses, maintenance. And then we'll go down, and for these guys, as I said in the previous video, they don't have a lot of big bills. They had furnishings, and then they've got Toyota. Remember, don't choose Toyota, choose the WAF and there's the main ones there. And now sometimes you might not have some of the big bills in some of the months, and if it doesn't show up in the category, just double check it each month, because if a new big bill crops up, you want to make sure you tick that one. So at the moment we've only got these two in the mix, or these three in the mix, and then you just go close and load. And that will put the information in a separate spreadsheet. And then it's also given me the raw data over here in the bills, income and spending one. So we're just going to shift that over there. So now in my dashboard, if I want to, I can actually move this, because this is already in quite a good format and I don't really need to change that. Big bills, make it a title. Where is my, says my styles. We want it to be a heading, might be a title, and then we'll have to save that. We'll go and get it again. Cut that out and put it there. And there's your big bills. Now you can go back into the query at any point and change anything you want. So if you've made a mistake, like I said, you can cross it out. Now, one thing you do need to remember is you need a total column. So rather than just put it in and total it up like that, which means you're not going to keep it next time, edit the query, and always remember when you're filtering, we're going to go back to filter, to go all the way down to the bottom and pick total. Now this total is going to be wrong, but at least you'll get the row that you need. And so it will put the total in. Now it's certainly not a total of $3,000 when there's lots of zeros there. So what we have to do then is we do always have to remember to total it up and take that all the way across. So that's just a tip. Make sure that the query always includes the total, but you will have to resum it, because it's not going to pick up the total of all those. It's going to pick up the numbers out of your CSV file, out of your HomeBank file. So just remember to do that. So then let's go in and insert a graph. I'm going to highlight all of that, go up to insert. We can go to recommended charts and see what it's thinking. So then you need to decide what sort of chart you want. We could do columns. That one looks pretty good. Make sure, and then you just choose whatever quick layout you want. That's a bit busy, that's a bit annoying, and you really want that to be down the bottom. Format the legend, and you want it to be at the bottom. And then put your title in, and just put in big bills. And there, and then if your labels are a bit too high, then you might want to move them down to outside end so you can see them. And I find sometimes it's actually quite good if you fill in the boxes and make the text white, and then you can also make it bigger so you can see it. So that is the very first part of how you export information out of HomeBank into Excel, do a PowerQuery, and create yourselves a visual picture of what your big bills are doing throughout the year. So then you can very easily see what's costing you the money, and you can decide how you're going to deal with that, either save regularly or turn them into monthly expenses, and the things that we talked about in the last video. So have a go at that. If you've got any questions, give us a yell in the comments, and next time we'll be having a look at one of the other aspects of HomeBank and how to export that out, maybe looking at balances or discretionary spending, income, things like that. So I will do a series of videos on all those different things. So again, have fun. Remember, if you want to learn more, if you're a first home buyer and you want to learn more about savings and buying a home and you're in New Zealand, then go to our website, www.insidemymoney.co.nz, subscribe to the newsletter, and we'll pump out all this information to help you out. So until next time, see you later.